then I came back this morning and I tried to put the battery box in. It wouldn't go in. I'm thinking, what the hell's the matter with that thing? It turns out I hadn't had the corner squared off enough over here, and yesterday I thought it was just the tape. I was stopping it from going in, so I left it. And then I was careless with my Dremel, and I nicked the body. So I'm doing a little touch-up in there. And then the rest of it turned out really good. I mean, the polishing on top of it just makes it feel like glass. Pretty much all of the abrasions around the edges are gone. There's a little bit on the horn up here that would probably have to go a little bit deeper, but it looks just a little bit like normal wear and tear. And it's going to be really, really good. That's how the wires come out of the jack, and then they'll go back down through the other hole. So yeah, I'm bummed about this carelessness. So while this is setting up, this is just the paint. I have to do a few more steps. We're going to move to the other bench and take a look at the neck and see how much fretwork may need to be done. Okay, so the news is not terrific like it was on the TE90. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 across the fretboard. So I think it's going to be because it's so long, so far, it's going to be a tape up job and just do the whole thing, so I don't end up having to chase things like I have before. So that's where I'm going. Wish me luck. Okay, peoples, the neck is done. It is done. It's just so much better when you do the whole thing at once. It's a little bit more work than just trying to get one fret or two, but it is a much better result. Now they said this neck was a Pau Ferro, but it's too dark to be a Pau Ferro. There's another version of this guitar that comes with a humbucker in the bridge, and they say that one has laurel, and I'm pretty sure this one's laurel and not Pau Ferro. So I think I got a good neck on the vintage with just the 3 single pickups. Anyhow, I must have lucked out on something. Now all I have to do is wait for any little bleed out to come up on this stuff, and of course the drying of that boo-boo I made on the body, which is over on the other bench, which I will now go and check on. But that trim clad is a very long drying paint. Well, I'm going to start by saying, so look what I found out by disassembling the pickguard on the ST62. All the pots are A250Ks, the 2 tones with the capacitors and this little volume. A250K. I mean, an A250K works as a volume control. It just has the, analog taper and not the linear taper, which would be a B250K, which is pretty much standard. And then on the top, all they had were the nuts. No little flat washer under them to protect the top. And they were tightened down quite good, and I'm hoping that when I put some flat washers on there, when I replace them with these new parts. Am I going to have to open the holes? Yes. The new parts don't fit in the small holes, so I'll have to open them up anyway. So that's a saving grace, opening up the holes and putting a larger flat washer. That will not allow any of that damage to show. There's a gouge here. I'm hoping it's only in the plastic. So I've gotten all of the stuff disconnected. I just need to remove this switch now and get the plastic off of here before any more work gets done. Well, let me open the holes before I remove the plastic. This will become a 5-way wafer switch, as shown in the schematic here. Have I not disconnected one of them? Oh, I did. Okay. So this rat's nest here will be cleaned up somewhat. At least I twisted the wires. Somebody thought to do that. But I mean, really raggedy. Very disappointed in the quality on this Harley Benton. Not only did they package it poorly to send it to me, but whoever built this, which wasn't mentioned on the guitar, it was really poorly thought out in how to put it together. Selection of parts, no flat washers. I hope I don't find any other issues. Now it is fortuitous that I ended up having to come through the jack cavity on the body with the battery box connections, because the ground lead, I'm probably going to cut some of this down anyway in the end. The ground lead, can go up there, or I should say the negative from the battery box goes right to the stereo jack. On that pin. So I don't need to do the shrink tubing thing to bring it out to a battery that would be located someplace else. It'll just be right there connected to the jack in the jack cavity. The hot wire will have to come through there, through the jack cavity, and hook up with this red wire here. So I'll probably just splice those two together. So it doesn't look too difficult. There's one thing that with this TBX control, they do not have any step-by-step instructions. And on the back of this piece of paper, I don't even know if it'll show, but it is printed in the lightest gray you could possibly have, just to say that they informed you. And if you didn't really look closely with this kind of light, you probably wouldn't even notice that there was all of this disclaimer stuff on the back of it from Fender Musical Instruments in Scottsdale, Arizona. And looking at it, it's all straightforward except for the TBX control. I think it's showing a jumper between that lug and the center lug of the top one here, but I can't be sure that that's what that is. I'm thinking it is. But that's about the only thing that is a little bit concerning. And also this lug with the with this black wire going to ground with this lug. Do I have that lug? Do I have a lug? I don't know what I need that lug for. It doesn't say where it goes. This one goes to the claw. But I don't have a ground lug. And I don't know where that's supposed to go, because everything else is pretty standard on this thing. I don't know where that would go. Ground lug wire 6 inches, but to what? This is the ground right here. That's the common ground. So I'm going to have to open the holes. These are probably the M8s. or M10s. Okay, so I'm going to improve this by putting some of my copper backing on it. It's been tore up here. A little bit rough in the manufacturing of this thing. A little bit rough. I see that there's little bits of stuff all over it. I'm going to take it upstairs and blow that off with my compressor. I really wish I had one down here. But we're gonna build this circuit next, because the body over there behind me is drying some CA glue into that little mistake that I made with the Dremel. Okay, my second task of the day is to try and open up these holes with the step reamer just a little bit. And there we go. Nice tight fits. Clean up time. Time for the copper tape. Cut that strip off, and you just have to trim that over here a little bit. Yeah, that's going to do. I'm going to bring it right up to there. Here's the tricky bits. So I like to stick it to the end of my X-Acto to get it under control. Now be careful of these edges. This is thin, but it's as sharp as a razor blade. I've mentioned it a long time ago. Mention it again. Some people didn't see my long time ago. There's going to be my ground plane for all of my knobs and switches. So now we just have to snip out the center of the. And there's one little hole there. The screw is also just going to come down through that. Alright. So in the parts from the kit, the tone knob they gave me didn't have any splines in it. I was thinking, why not? Because the ones that came on the guitar, oh no, they seem to be having trouble getting on these pots. These are CTS pots. Oh man, that means that the I think these are 16 splines and the Asian ones are 18 splines. So my original controls are not going to work on these pots. I was trying to see if I needed to have a backwasher. In the kit I got little star washers, one big flat washer, and all the nuts fit everything, including the jack, so they're all common. And if they're CTS, that means that they're imperial. And I only got one knob in the kit to go with this stuff. And also, I don't know if this is what they intended, but to put the star washer on the top of the board and put the nut on with no flat washer on the top. I don't know, I don't like it. And there's also one of these big ones, which could be for the jack cup. See, the Asian one has a nut in the back and a nut in the front. Sometimes there's a star washer. Sometimes there's a flat washer in the front. Try to get it as flush as possible. So, as I mentioned, yeah, I'm also going to have to ream out this cup in order to get the switchcraft to fit in. It's a tiny little bit too big. That'll be a later task. Right now, this non-splined unit can be pushed onto this TBX control, and it stays there. And I guess a non-splined one will fit Asian or American. But now this is problematic for me because I won't have any knobs to put on the front. I'm going to have to look on Amazon to see if there's a set for American Stratocasters. It would be really nice if they had a little bit more information on the kit, on the paper, to indicate what you should use for where, or what they intended these parts for. Obviously there's 3 of these, so these have to be for pots, but no flats. Let me look for my parts and see if I can find some flats to fit. Since the one knob can be pushed on, and the TBX goes there. Ooh, that's really tall coming through there. This one, see, that sits really tall off the board, so that's not good either. You want to be able to adjust it down so that it would be even with the other pots whose shafts are not as long. So again, they did not take this into consideration in this kit. You know, this kit costs $100 in Canada. Fender, a little bit more on the parts, please, and you know, some proper hardware.